Peter Eliades with you again. This is November 5th, Tuesday. Showing off this incredible price projection software, the cycle price projection software, programmed by the programming wizard from Switzerland, Stefan Scherman. I've got to spank Stefan once in a while, and figuratively speaking, to get to work where you need to finish this software as soon as we can to make it available to those of you who are trading the market and are interested in market analysis. Because if you've been watching us for the last few months, you know what a fabulous job it has done in calling the market. This chart that we're looking at now, by the way, is a simple 12.1 to 13.8 day offset. That's the half span of the nominal 5-week cycle. So these are nominal 5-week cycle projections. And as you can see from this low, we broke through. Now, in real time, when we were doing this analysis, I remember particularly in this day when we had this up day, that was on October 22nd, that this upside projection, in fact, it was confirmed earlier than that on October 15th. If you go back and look at those old updates, which are available to you, you'll see that on that day we told you that an upside projection had been confirmed, and we showed you this projection. Here it is, 3086.74 to 3096.07. At that time, the S&P on that day closed at 29.95, so it was calling for almost a 100-point rally. And lo and behold, here we are, folks. So, but what we want to show you today, we're going to concentrate on this nominal 5-week projection, because the S&P, as you can see, by the barest of margins, did not quite get up to the intraday minimum projection of 3086.74. But we want to show you the New York Composite, the Dow, and the S&P 500, which we're looking at now. These are the intraday projections, and then we're going to look at the closing projections. My feeling at this point is that we would at least want to see the DJIA and the New York Composite get up to the closing projections. The reason I say that, and we pointed this out before too, is we had this huge bar here on the downside on the day of the low on October 3rd, where the low is 28.56 and the high was 29.11. So you had virtually a 55-point spread for the day. And we closed, the lowest close was around this area here. So when you're getting the projections and the crossing point here, the closing price projection uses the closing low. And there was a really big difference between the closing low and the intraday low. And sometimes that's deceptive, because when you come up here, the projections on the intraday basis are going to insist that you have that big a difference on the upside too, and that's not always the case. But anyway, the S&P has virtually met that upside projection. Let's take a quick look at some of the other ones now. If we put in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you will see what that looks like on the intraday chart. Now, the intraday chart on the Dow is showing a projection significantly higher than we've come already. Now, whether that's due to you can see in this area here, Boeing was having problems, and the Dow actually after it went above the offset lines, it came back below for at least one of the offset lines for a day or two. So whether this much higher projection will not be met is up to what happens, I think, with Boeing, because that's the one that held it back right in here. But until the projection is met or invalidated, it remains in effect. So this projection on the Dow calls for a minimum upside intraday of 28,029. And again, that was a big reversal bar for the Dow that day of the low on October 3rd. So that's what that one looks like. The next one we'll look at is the New York Composite Index, and the intraday chart there looks like this. New York Composite's a little bit closer than the Dow was, but it still is quite a distance away. So, again, projections remain in effect till met or invalidated. I would be satisfied if both the Dow and the New York Composite Index met their closing price projections for the nominal 5-week projection because of this large bar, this large move down that was immediately reversed that day. I don't think we have to insist that the intraday projections are met. They may well be, but the more important ones are the closing price projections, and those are the ones we're going to look at now. So this is closing price projection for the S&P 500. These are the same offsets now, 12.1 to 13.8. They're actually the simplistic versions of the offsets. These are exactly 12 and 14 days. The new software does the offsets exactly, and that's what makes it so great. Is I never was able to get that done by any programmer before, and Stefan did that. So anyway, you can see that the S&P not only has met the projection on a closing basis, and that goes down to, it's based on this low, this closing low down here on October 2nd, the day before the reversal on the 3rd. And as you can see, for 3061.69 to 3082.13, and the high close was yesterday on the S&P, and that was 3078.27. Well into the projection window, in fact, near the top of the projection window. So the S&P has met the closing price projection, but let's look at the New York Composite Index on the closing price projection, and we get this. It came pretty close yesterday, but didn't quite meet it. I would think in this case that this won't be over. This move to the upside won't be over, even on a short to intermediate term basis, until this is fully met by the New York Composite Index. And that calls for 13,383.75 on a minimum basis. And the close today was 13,339.59 on the New York Composite Index. So we're looking at really, really close in terms of the closing projection. The one that is not really, really close is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And despite the problems with Boeing, my guess would be that we're going to see this Dow projection met before we have any kind of significant down move, even if it's not a final high. So I know I've showed you over the past few days, we have some divergences in the market here. We showed you the OEX and the SOX, the semiconductor index, yesterday, and said how a lot of those projections, at least the lower end of them, had been met. And when that occurs, you've got to be very watchful for a potential market top, short, intermediate, or long term. Again, this is an educated guess that we're going to see the Dow move into this area. The low here, the low side of the projection window, is 27,667, rounded off. The high side, 27,863. So we're concentrating on this nominal 5-week projection today because it's been met with the S&P on a closing basis, definitely, and very close to being met even on an intraday basis. But I would like to see both the New York Composite and the Dow Jones Industrial Average get up there to be more confident that we're looking at a market top of more significance. Remember, there are still significantly higher projections outstanding on virtually all the indexes on nominal 40-week projections. So that's what we're looking at today. Still, I don't see any danger of an important market top here, but because we've met some projections, we have to be watchful for some kind of short to intermediate term move to the downside. I don't think we're going to see it yet. That's it for now. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go subscribe. Bottom right, click on that, then click on the bell if we do special updates. And as those of you regular watchers know, we've been known to do special updates during the market day. You will be notified if you're a subscriber and you ring the notification bell. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow.